Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kits traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Okay, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world. It's noon here, Eastern Standard Time. And we have to get to the news. This is your brother Covenant Awakenings coming to you live from the Tampa studio here in Florida. I like that little sound beat. That's interesting. All right, time for me to be serious because these are serious times. Serious manners. For those that are, obviously scared about these times, that haven't followed this channel, haven't followed, at least Brother Yakoba and Sister Shonda, Sister Gates of Halda. She came out with a fantastic one this morning regarding time, because the time is the Most High's time, and His timing is perfect. Trust me, it is. That was a great message for me personally. I pray that also touched who it needed to touch in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, because we are really in some peril. And as I get started today, I dropped the link, so if people want to jump on in, I do have to be respectful of time. Usually on my Sundays, that's when my week gets started. I do have meetings throughout the day. That's when I get a lot of things together. That's why I say to people like, hey, I appreciate your support, because there are days that I'm working, and excuse me as I'm sipping tea, I do a lot of work behind the scenes. I do talk to some pretty influential people. I do have to draft some emails for some pretty influential folks. I think I'm talking to. Shout out to Pastor Rick Fletcher. I know he's in the house. I may not necessarily answer all my emails, but I do listen. And there are things that, again, as I said, we do behind the scenes, and we can't. It's for wisdom's sake, we can't reveal everything that we are doing. We would like to. Trust me, I would like to say, hey, look at what the Most High is doing. Look how awesome He is. Right? I want to brag on the Most High. While the nations are going crazy, man, look at what the Most High is doing. They're the ones that's trying to figure this on out. I'm sorry, this is. So I was in prayer this morning and yesterday, because a lot of things were going on, and you're right, Brother Asaph. He says, I never thought we would be at this juncture so fast. It is amazing to see Covenant Awakenings at this time. Look, I didn't think I was going to be here, but man, sorry. I have a lot of things, man. I got to get off of this website. Let me just present this one. This is from Economic Times, which is India Times. I told you that, India does a lot of good reporting. They're just very fair weather when it comes to their position in this. It's like, I know that I'm in BRICS. I know that I have to see, this changeover, but they're the ones that don't want to. They're the ones that don't want to take the knife, in this a two brute circumstance. They're pretty much, very colonial minded. They're very colonized. And I've said this because I do live and work around, a lot of Indians here in the Tampa area. Tampa hosted, I remember back in like 2009, they hosted for the very first time Bollywood outside of India. So I can, strongly attest to that. Yep, and thank you. Says bought brother Asaf's book yesterday. Hallelujah. And I'm gonna put this on out here because I do have folks that they present things to me. And usually, look, I don't charge. I just say, look, just whatever love offering you have, because we all need to be promoting everybody else's stuff. That's just how it goes in this community of believers. And so, as I get started, this is from our brother. He is a listener and supporter of our channels, and the Most High had inspired him to write this book right here. And this book is The Way, God's Covenant, Kingdom, and Restoration, Restoring the Ancient Path in Spirit and Truth, The Way Collection, Book 1. And that's from our brother William Clowers. So he has a Kindle and a paperback. So I have dropped that link in the chat for you all to check out our brother, to support our people. That, we are really in here in a time where this knowledge is running to and fro. This is Daniel chapter 12. It was locked up. And I had an epiphany as I was on my walk run this morning. And, if you think that we were in captivity, which we were, think about they had been in a voluntary yoke of captivity, and now their ultimate captivity is on its way. And as we are seeing different things occurring within this timing, right? This generation. I think that's the best way to say it. Shout out sister sister Gates a holder. Our generation, we've been a generation that we have seen a lot of things that even our forefathers would be amazed at. And this war that we're in, it's a culmination of, right, obedience. Disobedience. It's a culmination of vanity. It's a culmination of ignorance. Because why? They loved the lie. They loved the lie. And now they're giving themselves all the way over to the lie, especially as the rest of the nations are seeing who they are. This morning, I had a conversation with one of our brothers over in West Africa, and I'll leave it like that. And I was explaining to him, and he understood. He says, "Yeah, we can see. And the reality is this is not lost on them. This is a very this isn't novel to us. But what's happening is that the rest of the world can see where we're at in this time, as we had been stating this for, some of us. I know in 2016 I had kind of fully awakened. I was kind of in and out of sleep and consciousness, around 2012. And during that time, I was over at the United States Central Command, and one of the Egyptians had said, "Well, because the Israelites, the ancient ones, their understanding from, I believe, the Egyptian slash Arab understanding is that the children of Israel basically went into the desert, and our forefathers died from there." I kid you not. That was the situation of the understanding. And of course that makes sense, because if you're not trying to then, you know, if you're trying to pick and choose from the word, then you have to be able to say that we died on out, we're never to be seen again. And us saying that we're the people is, diametrically opposed to their scriptures, that the only way that we can even present anything of substance to them is to declare who we are and just leave it like that. Hey, we know we're the people. But since we know we're the people, you're just going to have to wait and see. And that is where we are at in this time. And our generation was always a generation of a sounding board, because even the generation that follows us, our generation that's coming up, they're following us. They have really they are the lion's whelp. And you can tell that they're the lion's whelp because they are not having any of the traditional conversations. That's just what we do. What? That's not what we do. That's just who we are. What? That's not who we are. It is because what? We say so. What? That's not this generation. This generation is all about business. This generation is all about, hey, if we're going to get down, this is how we get down. You're going to have to, we don't take the word of others. I'm not going to take you at your word. And to be quite honest, I love that. I love how our people are that stiff necked, because it had been a curse to be stiff necked. Now it's a blessing, because now it was, here you go in this time, in that day. And now all of these social constructs that have been created based off our captivity, they're now all being challenged. And our people are saying, well, explain this to us, explain that to us. And they don't have an explanation, rather than, well, you just have to pray. Conversely, we give an explanation and we say, hey, pray on it and ask the Most High to give you revelation. Because we're not fighting against anything of flesh and blood. This is a principality issue. And this principality issue is something that they know that they're losing, and that's really the biggest ordeal. Man, that they don't have us in their claws anymore. We're outside of their grasp. And that becomes very problematic for them. So as I am going through this economic times, India times, it says Iran's attempted strike on Diego Garcia reveals missile range. Well, I'm going to say reveals some of the capabilities. I'm not going to say all the capabilities. I'm going to say some of the capabilities. And this is by Jerry Doyle and Alex Wickham Bloomberg. And that's last updated yesterday. That's 8:50 p.m. IST or Indian Standard Time. Don't ask me. I think it's like maybe 10 or 11 hours ahead. Not sure. But the article is saying here Iran launched ballistic missiles at the joint US UK military base in Diego Garcia on Friday, demonstrating a weapons capability that goes beyond what Tehran was known to have surpassed. The base, a strategic airfield that can host B 2 stealth bombers located nearly 2,500 kilometers away from Iran, suffered no damage, according to a person familiar with the matter, speaking on condition of anonymity. It was the first time in the 3-week-old war that Tehran was reported to have deployed weapons with that kind of range, with one expert suggesting it may have used a modified space launch vehicle to conduct the attack. U.S. and Israeli, settler colony strikes have already destroyed some parts of Iran's satellite and rocket program. So, they always have to say, well, it's destroyed, it's this, it's that. So the strike on Friday came hours before Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government gave permission to the U.S. to use British bases, including Diego Garcia, for specific and limited defensive operations. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has hit out at the move, warning that Tehran will exercise its right to self-defense. And addition, it really is what it is. Yeah, and yeah, Shaya says I saw a video where they were hit by the impact. I think they were. Some of those videos they get leaked on out of there. They can't control everything. People have Wi-Fi, and they'll say, "Hey, don't share this with anybody," and then their family members, of course, they share it. Yeah, such and such is good. He's straight. That because how many of us have some sort of a family on active duty, cousins, sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, nieces, nephews? And yes, peekaboo, they were saying the missile could travel 4,000 kilometers, the length of New York to LA. And Brother Asaf, yes, the British and the United States are having babies over that article. The British politicians are lying to the public that we are safe. The Iranians could knock over Big Ben like a skittle. And yes, when you start to get to those intercontinental ballistic missile ranges, those ICBM ranges, these and especially at hypersonic speeds with potentially a hypersonic glide vehicle. Here's the thing: these people aren't stupid. I think I've said this on this channel many times. These people aren't stupid. Iranians are not stupid. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to stunt for Iranians. I don't get paid by Iranians. I definitely don't. But I'm going to tell you, these folks are smart. Like I said that last year, they're smart. Remember, Trump tried to, hey, we're just going to hit something and we're going to damage it and then we're going to give you money. Do you know that right now they freed up? They gave him $14 billion. You know what that was? That was really to have Iran stop. Because the reality is that when you hear somebody saying that, well, we won the war, then you have to give them 14 billion, and then you have to open up oil, and then you have to do all of these other concessions, and then you have to go with the ultimatum because they showed the capabilities and they showed that they're about to hit Dimona, and not just Dimona, but the Negev research facility. And that is really, that's the end of it. So these tit for tats, and bottom line is 48 hours started yesterday. And I want to go here. This isn't too bad. This is the Guardian, the US. And I'd like to get this article shared to you all in the chat. Get your compilers, share these articles. So, because I like to make sure that you all can, in fact, see what it is that I am talking about. Jabroni. He said, "I'm whipping you behind. Now here's here's billions of dollars to stop fighting." Doesn't sound like that behind whipping is as effective as they claim it is. I'm just saying. I like to use the anecdote of don't believe the words, believe the actions, because actions always speak louder than words. I'm sorry, it does. And we've learned this from these group of people for over 400 years. I'm sure when our forefathers were still on the plantation, they were saying, "Hey, don't worry, you Negroes, you're not going to do this and that or do anything and blah, 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 because the South is winning." And all of a sudden, here comes the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm just saying, you're never going to get a straight answer. As a matter of fact, they won't tell you when they've lost. What they'll do is they'll kick you out. I'm sorry, history has proven that. History has shown it and demonstrated it. All right, so this is coming from the Guardian.com. Middle East crisis live. Iran will completely close Strait of Hormuz if Trump acts on infrastructure threat, says IRG. From the Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps, it's IRGC, comes after the U.S. threatened to target energy infrastructure. Iran will completely close Strait of Hormuz if Trump acts on threats to target power plants. Statement. The Reuters news agency is carrying a statement from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, in response to the U.S. President Donald Trump giving Iran 48 hours to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to shipping or face the destruction of its energy infrastructure. The new statement, the IRGC said, Iran will completely shut the strait if Trump proceeds with his threats to target Iranian energy facilities. IRGC were quoted as saying that companies with U.S. shares would be completely destroyed. So do you understand what that does? That actually destroys what's left of this economy. If Iranian energy facilities were targeted by Washington and said facilities in countries that host American bases would be lawful targets, and that actually is true via the law of war. That is true via international conventions. There are a couple of international conventions on that, right? And the U.S. had used that for what? For harboring terrorists. Remember, they used all that with September 11th and everything else. Now, all of the stuff that they were using and claiming, boy, oh boy, the chickens have come home to roost, haven't they? But if the enemy harms our our power plants, we will do everything to defend the country in the interest of our people, the statement reads. So here's 500 kilometers. Right here, there's your scale of 500 kilometers. We can kind of articulate the scale from here to about here, 500. And I want to be more accurate. From here to about here is about 500. And then from here to about here, this is where Riyadh is at, in this vicinity where my mouse is. And then that's about less than 1,000. 1,000's right about here. And then from here to here, that's about 1,500. And then from here to here, that's about 2,000. So it can reach well into East Africa by the Red Sea, and it can reach well into the Mediterranean Sea. So now we have things going on that what they're going to do is they're going to destroy Karj Island. And the reason that 2,500 miles, it's 2,500. So it's every 500 miles. 25,000, 2,500, 2,500, 4,000 kilometers. It is very substantial. Andrew, thank you for the gift. Hallelujah. So, as we are seeing the capability of Iran, I wanted people to really understand that every single time Iran was getting hit, every single time Iran was taking the strikes, they were looking at the radar patterns. They were looking at the radar anomalies. They were seeing all of the things going on, because each time that you do have your planes, your aircraft in the sky, they're going to provide a signature. So let me just kind of put this map into perspective. This little dot right here, I'm gonna see right here, that little dot, that's Karj. Right here at Kuwait, go along Kuwait, kind of looks like a little puzzle piece southeast of Iraq, and then straight across there, that's Karj Island. That's Karj. Now, you have the deployment of the 82nd Airborne, but let's just be realistic, okay? I want us to fall into the scope of reality here. If Trump plays that card of trying to send people on in, you have a situation, no kidding, that you would literally have an open revolt. I'm not making that up. You would have an open revolt. That is political suicide. And that political suicide or excuse me, self-deletion, is something that when you have now um, an economy that really has faltered, the economy has faltered. Hallelujah for those that have um, a job still. You're blessed because right now, with everything going on, the main issue that is at stake, that's at play, is that you now have a country that is not caring about any money, nothing, nothing, nothing. And let me show you this because, again, it's not what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't matter what I say. You got to see what the actual people are saying because understand when you have low sentiment, that can actually lead to literally coup numbers. This is from CBS News from a Anthony Salvanto, Jennifer DePinto, and Fred Backus. March 22nd, 2026. Iran war, rising gas prices fuel economic concerns. Most say conflict not going well. Don't want regime left in power. CBS News polls find. When gauging a war, Americans consider at least two important things: what the goals are overseas and its impact home. Right now, Americans want a lot of things to happen in Iran. Most feel it's important to stop its nuclear program, ensure the Iranian people are free, and now that the conflict is underway, that it would be unacceptable to leave the Iranian regime in power at the end of it. But it's also important to end the conflict as soon as possible, they say. With growing economic pressure at home, rising gas prices are fueling some pessimism about the U.S. economy more broadly, with concerns about negative impact on it in at least the near term, if not the long term. Okay, so what does that mean? Let me kind of gauge this to you all. And and in order for me to do that, I need to switch over to this article. So I got to do a lot of switching, but things at the I'm trying to move this needle real quick. Shalom, brother Fats Nickel.
Shalom.
Welcome on my Sunday special.
Shalom. You know what? I decided I'm going to use my VPN. I decided. Oh, I think they're coming in twice.
No, that's you. That's you.
Okay.
You probably need to turn off an extra speaker or something.
Okay. So you know what I'm doing is I figured I'd be your war correspondent. So I just happened to turn my VPN on and I went to check some news from outside the US
Yep.
to help give you some articles. So this is an article that just came out 12 minutes ago about the straight from the BBC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did hit on that one through Economic India Times. And this is another BBC article, but this article here that I just dropped, let me switch it to this one. This is Dimona. So Iranian missiles injure 160 in town near settler colony nuclear site. Okay, so and there's some tie-ins to that, because number one, here is this one. Excuse me. This is from Sebastian Usher, Jaroslav Lukiv, and Patrick Jackson, from the BBC. More than 160 people have been injured, some seriously, in Iranian missile strikes on two southern settler towns close to a nuclear facility. Israeli settler emergency officials say they say 84 people were wounded in Arad and another 78 in Dimona after ballistic missiles hit the town on Saturday evening. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, says it is not aware of any damage to the nuclear research facility located about 13 kilometers, 8 miles outside Dimona. Iranian state TV earlier said the strikes were in response to an attack on its Natanz nuclear facility on Saturday. On Sunday, at least 7 people were injured in an Iranian missile attack on Tel Aviv, emergency services say. So now you see that, you know, they're scrambling with their numbers. You know, they're saying 92%. You know, I don't think so. But look, they're doing what they can. They're doing the best that they can, right, to ensure that they control some sort of narrative that's not controllable. And yes, Brother Asaph, it was a warning shot. And that's where I was going with this, Pastor Rick. He says this. So are they saying we don't mind you blowing up buildings and unaliving people as long as gas prices don't go up? Yes. That's where I was going with that. And I was alluding to with this. This is why, you know, I would have saved this for yesterday. Or excuse me, for tomorrow. I would have saved this for tomorrow. But this is what I was alluding to with this 48-hour ultimatum. We're now at a time to where extremes have to be used. Extremes. And I know that we don't like to talk about that because that's not on the narrative that, you know, these folks like to say, but they're saying it without saying it. And here's the article from Brother Fastnickel. Iran says Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed if Trump delivers on threat to strike power plants. The problem is he actually now has to strike because the whole thing that, you know, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was saying, oh, well, you know, it's everything is good. We just gave them billions of dollars, but in the you had the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations trying to give some sort of crazy behind explanation. Oh, well, we're giving them money because in the long run, the money isn't going to really pan on out because what that does is we're actually saving trillions of dollars because we're getting billions of dollars. Does that make sense, Brother Fastnickel? Explain that to me, how that makes sense. Because my mind is trying to make sense of this.
None of this is making sense.
The only thing that makes sense to me is you done got punched so smack square in your jaw that your teeth are rattling. and you don't even know what you're saying. You know that it's foolishness. Well, you know, because you got to look at it in the long run. They're going to get a short-term game, but the longer game, we're going to win. Are you winning right now? No, we're losing. I mean, we're winning, but we're paying because we're losing, but that's beside the point. Make it make sense, and they can't. Yeah, they lifted the sanctions off of Iran, but they're winning. So it's that terminology of I beat up the bully because my head was hitting his fist. I was head butting his fist.
That's a good one.
I was you see how much he was losing with me head butting his fist? Oh boy. Oh boy. So let me do this, brother Fats, and I'll let you chime in. Iran says Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed if Trump delivers on threat to strike power plants. And here is there we go. First reporting from our Israelite brothers and sisters over there, our ones that jumped the gun to the desert. Pray for our people. Pray for our people, family. Collapsed ceilings and blown in windows in Dimona. Resident describes missile damage. Gabriella Pomeroy. This is Ahmadiel Ben Yehuda says there is damage to a ceiling and windows after a missile hit nearby. Ahmadiel Ben Yehuda lives a 2-minute walk from the street where an Iranian missile hit the settler town of Dimona. I was on the steps to the bomb shelter when the missile hit. We were underground, but I could feel the shock waves come down. It pierced my ears, he tells me. There's damage to all the houses in our community. Many collapsed, ceilings and windows blow in, including in my own house. Ben Yehuda says he went to visit the street while the missile landed, and the entire area is just devastated, including the kindergarten. He knows several people whose apartments were completely destroyed. I felt horror. I just can't believe the power of what a missile can do to concrete. To see the devastation is hard to comprehend. And look at that. Here we go. That's the ultimate, to me. That's the signature of we are in desperation when we have our Israelites on BBC. Sorry. Go ahead, brother Fastnickle.
They have the Israelite as the face with the Star David flag in the background.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I'm just looking at articles about this whole Dimona strike. It's like I kind of feel until something happens here in the US, it's gonna be things as usual.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's business as usual, and I think honestly, Trump is going to test that because, to be quite honest, he doesn't care, and what will end up happening, I would suspect, because I'm still trying to find when the 48-hour ultimatum. Excuse me.
Now, oil is currently $98 a barrel, and I posted an article for you that came out today from Reuters talking about oil going up, the price going up tomorrow. So,
yeah, I'm trying to find the exact time that the ultimatum was issued, and I'm not getting a lot of good. Not getting a lot of good info on it. They say Saturday, Trump, but what time? Post on Truth Social, 23:44 GMT. So I think we're now 4 hours behind GMT or 5 hours. let me take a look at this.
Which ultimatum are you talking about?
The ultimatum that Iran said, if you touch anything, we're
Oh,
gonna mess you up. Yeah, he said he's gonna obliterate energy. So let me go here because that becomes the issue. That's the to me that's the concern.
well, this, I don't know if this is what you showed from The Guardian, but this came out from The Guardian 24 minutes ago saying that Iran will completely close the strait if Trump acts on his infrastructure threats.
Yeah, I did show that. I did show that. And this is as of today. This is March 22nd, 2026 from Chantel De Silva. And here it is. Iran unswayed by Trump's 48-hour deadline and threats to obliterate energy infrastructure. President Donald Trump threatened a major strike if Iran ignores his 48-hour ultimatum, but experts say it's unlikely to change Tehran's resolve. So basically, Tehran's going, they know that this next one's coming. And they said, look, once that happens, all hell breaks loose. It's over. So the key word is, what does obliterate mean? What can we speculate? And this is going to be speculative because when you're using now terms of obliterating, that to me is a strong force of action to where the degradation of the enemy, the infrastructure, and even the people suffer a cataclysmic and apocalyptic loss, demise. So there are actual there's terminology to this. When you look at this stuff, words do have meaning, and words do carry an actual qualitative and quantitative value. So you can't say, oh, it's going to what does obliterate? So if you're obliterating something, then there has to be some sort of an ordinance and a munition that will then, like a GBU 57 or 56, depending on that, or could it even be a nuke or a tactical nuclear response? That's the only thing that hasn't been used yet.
Yeah, because right now, Trump's words don't have any meaning. They don't have any power anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. So the loss of not being able to really have what people would consider. Oh yeah, I did show this one.
You know, it's funny, if let's say Trump does act and strikes Iran, but then Iran hits the oil rigs of the neighboring countries, that puts Russia in the driver's seat because now Russia's the guy with all the oil. And,
Well,
and Europe's going to hurt.
Mhm. Europe is going to hurt. Actually, Russia is, yeah, I would say in terms of a world power, they're in the driver's seat with oil. However, in my mind, Africa's in the driver's seat with the oil. It's just that really the oil infrastructure isn't really up to par to
Yeah, I'm talking
supply.
about the infrastructure, and this really cripples Europe.
Yes. Yes, it'll cripple Europe for real. Now,
The only saving grace they have is that they're coming out of winter.
yes. Yes, that is it. Because they shouldn't have that many more cold cycles. They
Right.
probably have about another 2 or 3 cold cycles. Remember, they don't really warm up until about late April, early May.
Right.
So, we're starting to warm up here, even though quote unquote warm up, you know. around late April, then early May. Then here in Florida, then we quickly start to hit the 80s and 90s about mid May.
Yeah.
So for them, they'll still it's spring. It's very a northern springtime per se, especially in Europe. The only ones that will be kind of okay would be more so those on the Iberian Peninsula, right? Spain, Portugal, and even parts of southern France, Italy. That shouldn't be too terrible. But the the other northern areas of Europe, oh yeah, that is something that they are going to they're going to feel. They're going to feel. And as I had stated, what the calculus is, okay. Now, we've always known, they always say, taco, Trump always chickens out. Well, the problem is that used to be the case. Now it's look, um you probably have to call it like techie or tiki. Trump Epstein caves in, you know. so, so the Trump Epstein cave in. So so he will cave in to the pressures of that settler colony, because right now that is then what we're going to see. What we're trying to do is, oh, I didn't see this one, but that's a good one. Karis, do you hear, or did you hear President Duma Boko of Botswana speech saying Africa will rule the world? Well, it's on its way. It is definitely on its way, because at the end of the day, this is really a European esque. I'm going to say this. It's a European esque, a Eurasian continental battle that is really happening in front of our eyes. The Eurasian continental battle. Can we say maybe it's the Great Eurasian Continental Battle, or could this be? You could categorize it as the start of WW3, where the fight of the Silk Road. And that Silk Road fight is going to then really have those traditional powers begin to fight against others. And at the same time, when you're having degradation of your traditional economic activities, as things degrade, guess what? People take advantage of that. Hey, while you were getting poor, I was getting rich. Oh, oh snap. Y'all need some ammunition? Y'all need some bullets? You need some of them missiles? Oh, we got you. We got you. So now this becomes a baseline of sorts of moving forward. Europe's power is getting degraded. That's the last thing that the Europeans wanted to hear. Because then what leverage do they have? So let me continue to go into this article. It said Trump on Saturday evening gave Tehran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the critical trade route through which 20% of the world's oil passes, threatening in a post on Truth Social to target Iran's energy infrastructure if the demand is not met. I wish someone would actually give the time frame a time stamp. I don't care about any of this. What was the timestamp? When was it actually done? That to me is, That's my main concern. I hate when they throw out Saturday evening. What's the evening? What's the time frame look like on Saturday? Because then you can start to ascertain then on Monday, at a time on Monday, well, what do we look at? Because if things happen on Monday, then Tuesday, what will that retaliation be? Because here's the problem. This isn't the same Iran where it's just like, oh, we're just going to wait and we're just going to plot and we're just going to, go back to the United Nations and say, don't do that. Have you noticed that they only went to the United Nations once? They said, hey, we're going to respond and don't call us until we completely, beat the brakes off of these folks. That's what Iran said. And now there is no, well, we're going to appease them by billions and this and that. I don't care how much they want to try to speculate on this will be an asset that will, you give them money, but in the short term, nah, look, let me just tell you this, man, they don't even like to give us money. They don't even like to give us money. Thank you, Andrew. 7:44 p.m. Yep, thank you. All right, so it's negative 4 hours behind GMT. Okay. Nah, don't say that I don't care how much they even try to resolve the fact that in the short term and the economic models and this and that. No. They're not going to give away their God like that. That's their Elohim they're giving away. I got to give away my mammon? Are you kidding? These Molech worshipers literally had to give away mammon. They're losing. They don't give away their gods like that. They don't give away their gods like that at all.
You think Congress will give Trump the $200 billion he's looking for?
Yeah, absolutely, because they're all in cahoots. This is the last vestige. This is the last stand of American hegemony. So when they're looking at, they have to. They're playing the script that they got to fight each other and blah 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 fight. Yeah. No, then they're gonna give it. But we have to make sure that we're doing this and doing that. Everybody can see past the game. It's a game. Nobody's moved. Now, who's supposed to be moved? Not us. We know the game. We understand the game. We can articulate the game. We are no longer the priority. These dog whistles are for them. So, Brother Fastical, when you presented that argument, that's what I wanted to tell you. That was the dog whistles are always this: the economy, the money, the economy, the money, the economy, the money.
It's always money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So now, if you're going to introduce, more than likely, potentially, they introduce a tactical nuke, because why? Because they tried everything else. They're not going to bring in troops. The moment that they bring in troops, it's over. It's a wrap for Trump and any type of political. That is actually when you'll have Republicans and Democrats. Either a 25th or an impeachment. Because that amount of economic loss will create issues. Politically speaking. And that's not survivable. Even if you are a Democrat or a, quote unquote moderate Republican, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The backlash will be too hard.
Yeah. And if they don't have the impeachment, I'm going to tell you this. That's when these folks, the charade is up. The charade is up. It not from us. We don't care. By and large, black people don't care. We're just going to be sipping on our iced tea because it's summertime, so you don't have to get country time. Sipping on that lemonade and iced tea, you know what I'm talking? Sitting on an Arnold Palmer, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's like, don't look at us. These folks are now out here on YouTube talking about we need black voices. Of course you do. Of course you do. But I'm sorry, that's not going to happen.
They always want the voice of the people that they consider irrelevant.
Yeah. We did not do this. We did not break this. Y'all broke it. We cannot fix this for you. Y'all broke this. And now, since they broke it, I mean, think about this. Do you know how messed up this is? Do you know how messed up this is? Trump wants it's purported. I'm going to say this. It's purported that Trump wants us, or excuse me, not us, the Arabs. Sorry. Trump wants the Arabs to pay $5 trillion for this war.
That they didn't start.
That's that. I mean, do you understand the level of audacity that is? Hey, sorry I blew up your stuff. My bad that all your stuff got blown up. But yeah, y'all gonna have to pay us $5 trillion. I mean, I know that things got messed up with your oil and everything else, but still though, I'm just gonna leave that bill right here. You can go into a portal, you can click on pay here, pay now, and just put 5 with 12 zeros. Thank you. Do I at least get a receipt? No. Is this gonna go to the US to the US taxpayers? No. Trump said, I'm getting my trillions. He said, I'm gonna be richer than Elon.
This week is looking like the line in the sand, because Europe doesn't want to get involved. They're hurting. It actually, like, they don't need to be creating enemies, because they need Iran, they need the oil, they need these people. Like, the US, it's not hurting the US necessarily yet.
No. And that's when, see, it's not hurting the US yet, but again, I would surmise, just in my estimate, that you have probably about another month or so. Remember, Australia's dealing on 45 days, less than 45 days. So is Japan. A lot of these countries are there, and they are going to do catastrophic measures, right? Hey, people can't go to work. If you go to work, or if you're in your vehicle, then you have to be. It has to be a good reason. Are you an essential personnel? What's an essential personnel? Are you a doctor? Are you, a city engineer? Do you do something with public? Are you a public official, right? Do you work for the state? Do you work for the county? Do you look for local? Are you military? Other than that, are you working at a grocery store, gas station, right? Critical critical economic measures. If you're just an office worker, hey, I do finance, um, you're gonna have to stay home. And that's exactly what they're telling their folks. They're giving out these memos. Didn't they say, like, the WTO it was literally telling folks, hey, you all need to consider this? Now, these aren't going to be lockdowns per se. You can still get around, but you're going to have to get around with a bicycle. You're just going to have to see what the Dutch do. And Burkina Faso is going to be laughing at y'all. They're going to be like, we used to do bicycles. Now we have motorbikes and we have electric cars. Yeah. Go ahead and try and convert that engine into a water based electrolysis water based engine catalytic converter. Go ahead and do that. You won't have long for this world, and then post that on YouTube. You won't have long for this world. I'm just saying. Hey, I got the secret. I'm on 2 jugs of Zephyrhill waters, 5-gallon waters.
I posted an image in case you want to talk about this. This is something that Coco and I were talking about last night regarding the Economist cover.
Oh yeah.
In case you want to look at it, just to think about based on the image or the cover, where do you think do you think that you see that ship in the upper right that kind of looks a little like a Viking ship, but that looks like Iranian hats. Like, do you think that's Iranian?
It does look Persian. It does look like a Persian.
It looks like Persian hats.
Yeah, I don't know what they're
holding.
What they're holding, yeah, satellites. You can clearly tell it's war. Satellite communications, drones. It looks like that's Xi. This is probably Putin, and maybe that's Netanyahu. That's India. That's definitely India. Italy. That's Maloney, definitely. Got your robots.
There's a lot of drugs and viruses.
Yep. Yes, they do. The pills. Yep, they got they got wine. Maybe melting seas, ice cubes, a lot of ice cubes.
I'm thinking the polar caps melting.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. They have video games being wired to brains. Oh snap! The cargo ships having missiles, and the missiles
the container,
hitting the cape.
Ships,
dang.
With military equipment on board. Now, let me ask you this question. When it comes to African Americans, they tend to draw them in a blue color. Like, do you think that hand with showing the power sign with the handcuff, do you think that's African Americans?
You know what? That could be, because it's chained to America.
It's chained to America.
It's chained to America. My goodness.
They didn't use a slave chain. They just used the handcuff.
They just used a handcuff. And maybe that's the recognition of, hey, we've been enslaved here for the 250 years.
Of the official existence of this country.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. And then maybe with that, you also have these are all rockets. These are all hypersonic rockets.
Yeah.
And you can see like there's a detonation, there's an explosion. These are all you have probably some more spacecraft launches and everything else. But do you see do you see this? The satellite with the laser at the cargo ship?
Yep.
My goodness. What a lot of
You got the dollar sign cracking.
mm-hmm. This is the World Cup because it's kicking the ball, so that's the World Cup. The hypodermic needle, so probably another pandemic with robots. Money's kind of going everywhere, so money is not going to be where and what it is.
Now, what do you think that picture of Trump and it's got the two swords with the two different handles?
I think that this is the West fighting against the East.
Okay.
And then see that the legal system is broken.
It's broken.
So they broke the legal system. So now it's all gone. Wow. So you got robo dogs, you got robots. Yeah, you still have boxing, so fighting. Those are the Winter Olympics going on. Still have your track and field. You still have your World Cup satellites. It shows like tanks. Literally, to me, it shows like tanks in the water. Could that be an amphibious landing? Because do you see the person wearing the binoculars? That to me looks like a soldier.
Yeah.
Some sort of a military person. And
There's a lot going on and none of it's good.
Yeah, none of it's good. Yeah, and it has us literally in the middle being chained with a cake, the candles. Wow. Because that's in about less than what 100 days. Y'all know that, right? That's less than 100 days.
July 4th?
July 4th, absolutely. My goodness. So all of this stuff that's here, especially the containers that's taking a shot at the U.S., you could clearly tell that that's the U.S. 250 celebrations. Dang. People talk about a false flag.
A lot of red and blue pills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's indicating, a lot of people still asleep, a lot of people waking up. Or is that just drugs in general?
I think it's maybe it's drugs in general because maybe everybody is see how the red and blue. So somebody's somebody's kicking off a pandemic.
Yes, definitely a pandemic is
epidemic. Yes, pandemic, epidemic. Yes, and then they're controlling people with video games. I think that's social media, right? So that could be literally because you're right. I think the blue is because look at the ties, man. Yeah, this is wow. A lot of stuff is in there because I could tell. I know that that's Maloney, and she has red, so you can tell that's Europe, but that's Modi, and Modi that's BRICS. This is all BRICS. But then that she with the red tie, but is that tie representing of the tie that Trump has for MAGA? Because you can tell that's Trump, or is that the tie of the red dragon? Because this is the year of the dragon.
I look at it as, red is simulates, power. They both have the power. The two power sources, China and U.S., going up against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is pretty critical.
A lot of robots.
Here's I think something that you were alluding to. Wow. I want to share this. I do want to share this because this is no kidding. This is from the Express. I put that in the chat. It's right here. Oil prices soar to 200 as Trump's Iran war puts global economy on the brink. Experts warn Iran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz is already pushing crude prices sharply higher. This is from by Catherine McKinley, news reporter from. This is as of today, 10:32. So they're reporting here. Let me blow this up. Oil prices can soar to a staggering $200 a barrel amid fears that escalating conflict in the Middle East may choke off one of the world's most critical energy supply routes. Market analysts are warning that the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which roughly a fifth of global oil supplies pass, is already pushing crude prices sharply higher and could trigger an unprecedented spike if disruptions continue. Brent crude surged to nearly $120 a barrel on March 9th and has remained above 100 since March 13th, following a series of strikes and retaliatory attacks on key oil and gas infrastructure across the region. Okay, so as I had stated, so you have the crude, right? The crude oil that you have here in the West, we enjoy internal supply and demand. Okay, we enjoy internal supply. So our supply, even though for us we measure it in the West Texas index, the WTI. Let me make sure. Intermediate, yeah, the West Texas Intermediate, which is the WTI. It's at 98.09. And the market's closed on that back on Friday. Now, Brent's crude oil, when the markets open and they open in Asia in about another 4 or 5 hours, that's when you're going to start to see oil prices move up, because even though the WTI isn't officially trading, you still have a futures that is having to respond to your East Asian markets. And so the wheeling and dealing that is coming out from Europe and Asia is that the U.S. backfilling. The U.S. literally backfilling what is happening with their crude oil supplies, or their oil supply, which they're expecting, obviously, the U.S. to backfill. And the U.S. is trying to tell them, hey, you want to get to that oil, then you need to help with the Strait of Hormuz. And they're basically saying, no, we're not going to self-delete ourselves for something that you've done, right? And when they say, hey, it's an appropriate, we're trying to look at things in an appropriate manner. Well, the reality is this. These folks are going to pay. They're going to pay the U.S. excuse me, not U.S. Iranians. They're going to pay the Iranians to utilize their oil. Now, the Iranians had said this: no, we're not going to sell that to you. So that couple 100 million barrels supply that the U.S. was talking about utilizing, Iran has basically said no. This is why you have the ultimatum on out there, because the calculus isn't working. So now desperate times calls for desperate measures. And lo and behold, I'm going to tell you this. Remember, we were always saying, hey, you already know the West is going to use the first nuke. We've already said that. The West was going to use the first nuke. All of a sudden, because historically, nobody said anything to the settler colony, and no one's really said anything to the U.S. So the reason that I came on in an hour and a half into this is because, potentially speaking, on this 48-hour ultimatum, we could potentially have, remember I told you that nuclear option is on the table because Iran hit the U.S. with an actual monetary nuclear option. And Tyrus, you named it, that they're supposedly selling the oil for yuan. That's the nuclear option. They can't hit China, but it seems as though an appropriate target could be Iran.
Trump gave the ultimatum, but you and I both know that Iran doesn't care about Trump and his ultimatum. So by Monday evening, Tuesday morning, if Trump doesn't do something drastic, then nothing that U.S. says will ever be listened to.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to do something drastic because, to be quite honest, he doesn't care. Like I said, he doesn't care. We're thinking that we're dealing with someone that's still rational. No, because at the end of the day, um, he's already what, 79 years old, getting ready to turn 80. You know, he doesn't care. He's lived his life.
Yeah.
His kids will be fine going to somewhere in the world, who knows where. They'll be okay. More than likely in Argentina. But the people that are going to be suffering are going to be the people that's left here. I'm sorry, that's what Second Ezra stated.
And that
So,
won't be us.
nope, nope. Daughter Asia, man, they're about to do some service. Well, why would they do service? Because what he's going to do is going to systematically destabilize everything and everybody. Remember, what he's going to do is going to trigger the ultimate ultimatum from Iran. And I believe what people don't want to obviously touch on, but I'll touch on this. I believe that every country, particularly even including the United States, will probably undergo some sort of an internal operation orchestrated by another country. Supercells will be activated, for lack of better words. Because you got to remember also, the thought process is, if they can try to appeal to the sensibilities of the good people of the United States, right? Hey, you may want to check your president. Hey, you may want to, right? That's what you do. Look, we don't want to do this, so we're trying to let you all self-correct, course correct. We're trying to let you all have a talk with your leader, so you can try to, talk him down. And the reality is that ship has sailed. So you also there are different things going on, because when they said that they could also touch on out, they said this, it was purported, so this was supposed to have been said, that Iran would touch U.S. nuclear facilities. My question is how? How would they do that? What would be the mechanism? Are they now saying that they would then activate supercells? Sometimes the messaging is literally in the responses. Oh, they said it from the top. If they touch it, so here we are at this time. That to me was more newsworthy, or, I would say credible, for me to jump on Sunday afternoon to really get that synopsis down. Because again, if you didn't get your gas, you may want to get some gas. If you didn't get some extra, you may want to get extra. Or if you don't, then it looks like them rations and those provisions may be coming via a drone. I'm just saying. Thank you for logging into Government Rations 101. You know what I'm saying? Look, a division of Tesla Enterprises, Tesla X, or whatever they're calling it, division of Palantir, or whatever. you have a total of 1,000 credits to spend. Oh yeah. Yeah, Professor Morandi did say, he said in an interview, this from Measy 5906, if the U.S. strikes strategic assets such as electricity grid, Iran will hit anything strategic within the Arab countries. Now, they also did have it from other from other Iranian officials that extended beyond. That will extend beyond. Now, Europe is in the crosshairs. Europe is in the crosshairs. 2,500 miles potentially. That's what they know of. And yes, please also stock up on meds. Please have at least a 90-day supply. What was that here in this? Medicines right there. Let me share this. By Trump, you had the red and black pill. Don't know what that's supposed to mean. But you have prescription bottles, you have pills, blue and red, blue and light blue and red. because we're definitely now here that this war is upon us. It's imminent. And you could tell, you could see the stock market is crashing. It's not going up. If you read that left to right, it's going down. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm still trying to figure out what this GPS thing means over here. And
You
then the
know,
dollar crumbling. Man.
I just ran the image, so I just sent you a link that's giving somewhat of a breakdown of some of the images, but I didn't realize it that that globe is actually a representation of a soccer ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let me share this. This is coming from Claude, a lot of people's new boss. All right. So this is from Claude. The
Yeah,
file is
I think
a
if we keep going down is where there's a breakdown.
okay. So right here, this is a busy illustrated collage in red and blue, packed with all sorts of imagery. It appears to be a magazine or editorial illustration, possibly related to 250 anniversary or issue theme. There's a cake with 250 on it at the center. As for things that resemble supercells in the conceptual or visual sense, a few elements stand out. The group of suited figures in the center, a cluster of men in dark suits standing together somewhat conspiratorially, which visually echoes the idea of agents blending into society. Walkie talkies, radios, communication devices scattered around suggest covert coordination. Syringes could evoke covert operations or chemical biological themes. So it could be a nuclear, biological, radiological, um, environmental attack, chemical attack also. A figure pulled up by a rope, bottom right, suggests someone being activated or controlled from a distance, a classic supercell trope. Drones and satellites, surveillance imagery consistent with covert network themes. The overall globe sphere composition, the whole illustration could be read as a metaphor for a hidden world of interconnected threats, all swirling beneath the surface, which is exactly how supercells are often described conceptually. And it says, great. So here's the context. Now, this is Economist, The World Ahead 2026 cover. The globe is drawn as a soccer ball, nodding to the 2026 FIFA World Cup and surrounded by a collage of icons, missiles, syringes, a birthday cake, each representing a key geopolitical, economic, or cultural theme. Red elements signal alarm or instability. Blue elements suggest order or authority. As for sleeper cell imagery specifically, the most fitting elements are cluster suited figures. Okay, and I think we went through that. The overall hybrid warfare theme, the cover points to a continuous hybrid state of competition across tech, data, security, with more hybrid operations expected in orbit, underwater, or online, where software engineers are as crucial as soldiers. Supercells fit squarely in that framing. You also have in there financials. I think financials is a big one.
Yeah, because the it shows the dollar sign cracking.
Yep, absolutely. Um, and it says the figure being pulled by a rope, bottom right, outside the sphere, represents a soccer World Cup player, but visually it reads like someone being activated or controlled from a distance. Now, soccer World Cup, and people know where that's at, right? Where the World Cup is being played. Brother Fast Nickel, where's the World Cup being played?
I think in California, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in 3 different countries. New York, excuse me, Canada, U.S., and Mexico.
In Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And now it looks like people want to boycott, obviously, Mexico. And that is something that, people have to consider. Because again, if what did they say? ICE may take over TSA operations. Oh boy.
So now that I look at this image again, it's almost like the World Cup is the catalyst or the glue to all of this.
Yeah. So we had a 90-day type of, the infrastructure is collapsing 90 days. And then when people get here, it's going to be even crazier. Because I mean, think about this, and I don't see this situation getting any better. I do see that things are going to become more expensive, especially for travel.
Oh yeah, this is going to hurt airlines.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts everybody. It hurts airlines.
It hurts food because now it's going to cost so much more to transport.
Yep. Hotels, because nobody's going to want to travel. Just going to sit home. They were canceling flights. It said like they canceled. Here's this. I wanted to put this on out there.
Karis, just think about all this. How the timing of when Q2A sent out the container. More and more, it's like, oh my gosh, you couldn't even done it any better if you tried.
The Most High's timing was very, very impeccable because I literally just had a discussion about not even 3 hours ago. And I'll have to discuss that in the background with some folks. But yeah, that was here's the reality of this. And again, I can't tell you all much, but when I do tell you like, hey, this hospital initiative for us to get this ground, to get the project up and off the ground, literally, we have folks that are in here that can help us. They can donate here at q2a.org, and then you have the hospital project initiative. But I'm going to tell you this. Folks trying to reach on out now, what is it when you reach on out in an emergency? What is it? It's too late. You ever hear that old adage, right? If you're reaching out in the time of an emergency, it that becomes disingenuous, right? It becomes disingenuous. How come you didn't reach on out beforehand? And I thank the Most High that we had reached on out as a people, as a community, way before this happened. We did. And here in this time frame, you cannot write the script any better. But here's this. I put this in the chat. This is from Reuters through Yahoo Finance. United Airlines to cut 5% of scheduled flights as fuel prices soar. So that's United. This is as of Friday, March 20th. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said on Friday the airline will cancel about 5% of this year's planned flights in the short term as jet fuel prices surge due to the Middle East conflict. And that's what they have for right now. When all that stuff gets taken offline, it is going to be even, the cuts are going to come even more. The cuts are coming.
Yep.
So now, as we're starting to see this, yeah, that's what I think right now. You could travel to the USA and have no way to get back to your home country. Absolutely. Could that be a trap? That's what I'm saying. Could that literally be a trap for folks? Because literally, you don't have TSA. TSA is not getting paid, and you don't have ICE agents that are getting paid. Is that going to be a government shakedown? Man, when you start to encounter third world problems, you know what I'm saying? When you start to encounter third world, you're going to start having people act third world. And the way that the US makes its money is through tourism. And now this will be the second year in a row where tourism falls. I mean, listen, Brother Fast Nickel and I are here in the heart of tourism country here in Florida. And we can tell you when tourism falls, companies go out of business. They were crying about that last year. Oh, look, folks on the Gulf with their tours, sponge cruises, and dolphin cruises, they weren't getting anything booked.
Listen, Disney accounts for like 60% of the GDP for Florida.
Yes, it does. Disney, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, it all does. If you work at Disney, that's actually a pretty decent job working at Disney. I just couldn't work at Disney and they'd be like, hey, we need you to go and do a special project on the island on over there. What? I wonder how many of them Disney employees.
The interesting thing about Orlando is people think that a majority of the people come here to go to the parks, but that's not necessarily true because a lot of people come here, a lot of corporations come here because of the weather to hold their corporate events.
Yes, they do. Their annual corporate events, their shareholders meetings, their other look. They look and over in a place called International Boulevard. There's all sorts of hotels and everything else around here, and Orlando is very spread out. And that's not just Orlando. Even in the Tampa area and even in the Miami area, it's a very big. South Florida is a big kind of metroplex of sorts that really in roughly 2.5 to 2 hours you can be at these places from West Palm Beach to Orlando, West Palm Beach to Orlando. What is that, less than 2 hours, Brother Fast Nickel? About an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Well, Orlando to West Palm is about between an hour and a half and 2 hours. But
yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance. I haven't taken it, but buddies of mine have. The Bright Line train from Orlando down to Miami is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the train. I think the train takes about an hour. Yep. Yes, it does. And it's that is and again that is also an economic engine for the United States. So yes, spring break capital Miami, yeah, that's down, and people are stuck. People are stuck trying to get home earlier this week. So now, also you have a showdown here in the Florida Straits. And what, in less than 24 hours, you actually have a showdown. And people forget this. There's so much news going on that we're going through. This is the classic. This is information overflow. This is indicative of a fog of war situation. If you aren't reporting, and remember the reporting, then you start to lose track of everything that's going on all around you. And and listen, we tend to forget Cuba is also going through something. One of the first Russian ships sets to arrive within the next couple of hours, days to hours. And the U.S. has said that they're not going to allow it. So that can be a potential showdown. So imagine seeing that happening off of the coast of the Florida Straits. There's a lot of boats there. There's a lot of shipping there, a lot of commercial shipment. And people will definitely be uploading images if something goes down. So you have that. And also, again, this week on the 25th, in less than 3 days, Ghana makes their proposal to the UN. Oh, my goodness. Why do you think Trump is using the language of obliterating? Because he's going to try to get everybody stunned up. Listen, everybody is going to get, stunned by what happened in the Middle East. They won't even whimper a word about the UN, about Ghana's proposal. Brother Fast Nichols, any final comments? Final thoughts?
No, I'm just looking at an article regarding Cuba, and Trump thinks that Cuba's another Venezuela. I'm just wondering what it is, what resource that I have to look in to see what resource Cuba has that the U.S. wants.
Probably sugarcane, rum. And it may not even be really the resource per se. It's really this. They don't like to take losses. And that's just vendetta. It's may just be a personal vendetta. Yeah, Rise the Moon says that she says, I just received a worldwide security alert for all Americans abroad. Oh boy, okay. And yeah, controlling a strategic location, Fort Living Room Homestead. That's right, because that is really the main access point to the Gulf of Mexico. I'd still say Gulf of Mexico. Tell me where that changed on the world maps. It hasn't. It's Gulf of Mexico and Persian Gulf. Sorry. That's just how it goes. Yeah, and that may be exactly what this is, the Bay of Pigs 2.0. Especially if they try to board and seize. See the last time they allowed that to happen, they're just like, whatever, forget it. This time there's more political will to actually fight and hold the fight against that seizure. This is going to go down, because when they get engaged, as soon as they start to engage, Russia is going to be engaged in that. They're going to have their satellite communications. They're going to have everything, the transponders, all that stuff, so they can make their case.
You better get your sleep tonight, get your coffee in the morning, because when you come on in the morning, boy, a lot could pop off.
Well, yeah, a lot could pop off. Now they said by 48 hours, so I don't know if Trump is going to allow, the timing and the time frame to go down. But to be quite honest, man, Iran said no. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. So with that, brother Fast Nickel, if there's no final thoughts, comments, I'm gonna leave it as is. And yes, family, we are in some very interesting times, but guess what? Do not be afraid. Do not fret. The Most High is doing this thing. He's doing his thing.
He is.
So we are here in an awesome time. So Barbara says the first bad pig was frightening. Yeah, and I think listen, this time around, there is no. I'm just gonna call it what it is. That there's no filter because everybody has seen past the U.S. Everybody.
Yeah.
So with that, I do have to go, family. Y'all be blessed. Shalom, everyone, and let me close on out. Most High willing, I'll see you all tomorrow. And with that, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings.
Shalom.
Yashara.